On today's show, it's a Senators preseason game day, and for the first time, we're going to see a lineup that includes Artem and Josh Norris.
And we're joined by the Sens Vice President of Marketing, Jeff Harrop. He tells us all about the great promotions going on at the CTC this season.
All that plus organizational value rankings. This is Locked On Sens.
I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. It can be to the Sens home opener. You can also find us everywhere you get podcasts. We're free and available on YouTube. We're on social media at Sens Central on Twitter and LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, and Pilsy, as the calendar turns, so too do my hopes and dreams, because Artem and Josh Norris are both playing hockey tonight.
Ross, I told you all along this was nothing to worry about. I never had an ounce of panic or concern. This is all going to happen this way. Not a big deal. But yes, it's great to see not only Josh Norris or Artem Zub, but both of them in the lineup. So that's a sight for sore eyes for Sens fans.
It's an extremely experienced Ottawa Senators lineup tonight. The only real regulars that are getting the night off, Claude Giroux, and to a lesser extent, Nick Cousins, but he is going to be on the opening day roster. So that to say, there's going to be a lot of eyes on the few players who are battling still for a roster spot. Most notably, Carter Yakemchuk on a pair with Jake Sanderson, the top pair. I think he's going to get 24 minutes tonight. What are you hoping to see from the big young defenseman?
I mean, Ross, we're possibly getting a glimpse into the Ottawa Senators' top pair future for the next decade and a half. If everything goes well, like, this could be a sight to see. And I'm stoked that they're trying this. Like, this is the time to try this. And Zub going back with Thomas Chabot, that's a pair we know works. And I think Nick Jensen, hopefully stable veteran, as a partner for Tyler Kleven is also a great combo. And then top it all off, Ross, Travis Green said we're going to get a full game from Linus Ullmark. So there's just so much excitement when you're looking at this lineup.
First week of preseason, it's a lot of bodies. It's a lot of people trying to make an impact. But this, now we're into the final week, and for good reason. I mean, my goodness, we spoke yesterday about just how long and kind of redundant preseason can get, playing so many games, but this is why you have preseason, to have the core of your team. But how do certain guys fit? How's Matthew Highmore going to look on the third line? How is Tyler Kleven going to play alongside a veteran stabilizer like Nick Jensen? Let's go through the lineup. We'll start at center with Tim Stützle in between Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson. Josh Norris. I just wanted to pause because Josh Norris is in the lineup. He's going to center Ridley Gregg and David Perron-Pilsey. I'm going to want a thought on that. But first, Shane Pinto is between Matthew Highmore and Michael Amadio. And this is another interesting one. Adam Gaudette, a man who we kind of left out of the conversation yesterday between Zach Ostapchuk and Jan Yannick. Adam Gaudette's going to get an opportunity tonight to show that he could be the fourth line center on this team. He's going to be between Noah Gregor and Zach McEwen. I just want to hear me say it again. Jake Sanderson is paired with Carter Yakemchuk tonight. And then we'll have Thomas Chabot with Artem Zub, Tyler Kleven with Nick Jensen, and Linus Ullmark is in goal. But let's screech on the reverse. Josh Norris with Ridley Gregg and David Perron. Do you like that combination? Or who would you like to see Josh Norris kind of gain a little chemistry with here?
Yeah, I do like that line, Ross. I think if Giroux was here, we'd see Tkachuk, Stützle, Giroux, and then Batherson would be on a line with Norris.
I think we know those two can play together.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting a little bit of a different look here, but I like having Gregg and Perron there. It kind of takes a lot of the hard-working, gritty board work out of the equation for Norris, as he's got two guys on his wings that are more than happy to do that type of work. So I think if you're looking at how to set this lineup, that's a nice line for Norris to start out on.
It's going to be a great Ottawa game to watch. Now, the Montreal Canadiens are putting out a A- squad because I don't think they have a B squad necessarily. Now, they are going to have Kirby Dach in the lineup. He'll be a guy to watch for on that side. Only played 2 games last year due to injury, but he's obviously got high potential. Was a former 3rd overall pick. But beyond that, it is a very inexperienced Montreal Canadiens lineup. I didn't even bother getting the graphic ready, so I'm just going to throw this one up here. Joshua Waugh and Joel Armia there. Now, Brendan Gallagher's playing in this game. Arber Xhekaj is playing in this game. Michael Pezzetta's playing in this game. All that to say there could be a bit of a gong show at the end of things. And look, the Habs are no stranger to this. They just had an absolute clown fest against the Toronto Maple Leafs on the weekend. And they've also seen what preseason is awful for. Horrible news about David Reinbacher. He's out 5 to 6 months, the 5th overall pick from not this draft, but last. And we know Patrick Laine is dealing with a knee issue, nothing official, but it did not look good. So you'd think if anybody would have the wherewithal to say, hey, let's just go out and get our reps, let's get going, it would be the Canadiens because it's affected them negatively. But I have a feeling that they're going to take it the other way and say, well, if we're hurt, we're going to go and be clowns out there too. Arber Xhekaj in particular, we're going to be watching for. Doesn't do much when the puck's on his stick, but when he's around the puck, hopefully he is in a little straight line. Because I look at him, he signed a one-way contract at 1.4, I think it was.
1.2, I think.
I don't even know who Adam Enstrom is. Jaden Struble, I've heard of once or twice. Both those guys are still ahead of him on the depth chart. This guy is stapled as the 3rd pair D. I just don't want him to go out there and try to be a hero again. So we'll see. Obviously, the Senators are built for these types of games too. They've got their Zach McEwens in the lineup. Brady's never afraid to be that guy. But do we want him to be that guy in preseason? The answer is no.
Yeah, Ross, that's why I responded to your tweet about the Habs Goons. And I really thought this was a game they should have kept Brady Tkachuk out of, especially with the scare with his shoulder. Now, obviously, it seemed like it was okay. He comes back in the game, but I would have liked to have Nick Cousins in this game as opposed to Brady Tkachuk.
Revenge game.
For Nick Cousins?
Yeah, he had a cup of coffee with the Habs.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
He's done the tour. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, seriously. Because I thought that just would have made more sense, especially in Montreal. Save Brady for the Detroit game and obviously the last preseason game at home. That's a good time to get Brady in as well. But I think it's going to be a fun game, and we're going to see lots of different aspects to decision-making about how this lineup could go. And yeah, we accidentally left Gaudette out of that 4th line center role. To be honest, I forgot that he was still there. I thought he was part of the cuts, so that's why I didn't mention him. But certainly he is still in the running, especially Ross, when you take a look at the power play units. Gaudette is featured on the 2nd power play unit. So clearly they're really taking a look and seeing if he can provide an offensive spark to that bottom 6.
Our guy, Alex Adams from Sportsnet, has the power play units out there. And similar to what we discussed last Friday, you can go check out that episode where Brady Tkachuk is playing on the bumper. So we're going to be watching for that tonight. How does Brady look in the bumper position with Drake Batherson as your net front presence? Tkachuk will be flanked by Tim Stützle on the left side, so he's on his strong side, and Josh Norris will be in the one-timer position. Jake Sanderson quarterbacking things from up top. On the 2nd unit, it's Ridley Gregg at the net front, Shane Pinto in the bumper, Adam Gaudette on a one-timer side. He's a right shot. He'll be on the right side, and David Perron, right shot, will be on the right side. On his strong side, Thomas Chabot up top on that one. Alex mentioning Yakemchuk got a couple looks on PP2 as well. Adam Gaudette, this is your chance, buddy, with Claude Giroux maintenance day. He's getting that spot on the 2nd power play unit. So let's see what he makes most of that. Before we get to our interview with Jeff Harrop, great conversation, awesome guy. I think you'll enjoy this chat and our organizational value rankings. May I please have a locked on player to watch?
I mean, it's going to be impossible for me not to be locked on Carter Yakemchuk. I'm standing on my side. I still think it would be best for him to spend majority of the year in junior. I know a lot of Sens fans are ready to have him be a full-time NHLer, but don't get that twisted. I want to see Carter Yakemchuk play as many games as an Ottawa Senator for the time being, because it's so exciting, and especially getting an opportunity to play with Jake Sanderson. That's going to be, I'm giddy just thinking about it. So I'm stoked to watch Carter Yakemchuk tonight.
So excited. It's a 7:00 start tonight, and we'll be tweeting at Sens Central. You'll find us tomorrow breaking it all down. We've also got a Sens Central Citizen on tomorrow's show, and stay tuned for a nice steady Thursday. And we're going to run you into the weekend with Claire Hanna later this week as well. Lots of great coverage as we are just 9 days away. Are we 9 or 8? This countdown has got me in a pretzel.
I don't do calendar counting very well, but 1, 2, 3, 4,
9.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
You know why I've got my numbers mixed up? Because in 8 days, we will be boots on the ground in our nation's capital. The leaves are changing colors. It is the best time of year to be in the city of Ottawa, maybe outside of Canada today. But that to say, it is going to be an amazing week, and we will be at the GLEBE Central Pub from 2:30 on. The bus leaves just after 5:30. So tell your boss it's the home opener, and you need to get to the pub early. The shuttle has 22 tickets left. We will continue to update you as that goes down, because if you're thinking about it, if you're an on the fence sitter right now, you're not sure you can make it work with your schedule, well, clock's ticking, because we got 2 buses and they will both be full. Get it ready. We're 9 days away. All right. On the other side, it's Jeff Harrop. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. 3 best friends wanted to follow their dreams, and with hard work and dedication, they got 4 stores in the Ottawa area. You can check them out at Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. They got the best and newest products in the market. They're adding stuff to the menu every week to keep it fresh, and they've got competitive pricing. In fact, they're going to price match any store in Ottawa. So that means you're guaranteed to get the best price around when you go to Mary J's. And they got great customer service with friendly bud tenders that are ready to help you out. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, is a diehard Sens fan. So go to one of the stores, say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Sens and all the latest, greatest products that Mary J's has to offer, and check out their website and pick up your loyalty card today.
Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and for great reason. At FanDuel, you know that you can live bet all of the NFL action every Sunday, all of the hockey, whenever anything is getting going, you can be up to date with the FanDuel Sportsbook. So when you want to make every moment more, head over to FanDuel.com, and you'll be able to find all the latest odds, player props, and more. For example, right now, Travis Green is still the second best odds to win the Jack Adams Trophy. You can already bet on the 4 Nations face-off. You can bet on certain teams' Game 1 starters. Like, will Eunice Corpusalo be starting Game 1 for the Boston Bruins?
Oh, yeah.
You can go make every moment more at FanDuel. And because you're a listener Locked On Sens, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, now here's our chat with Jeff Harrop. All right, we're now welcomed by a very special guest. It's the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Customer Engagement with the Ottawa Senators. It's Jeff Harrop. Welcome to Locked On Senators. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, guys. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. I mean, the season is just over a week away. The home opener coming up on October 10th. We're excited. We're making the pilgrimage out to the CTC for our 4th straight home opener. We know that the last 3 results have gone our way, but it feels even different around the arena. I keep hearing about all these renovations. What can fans expect that are coming to the home opener?
Yeah, we're constantly, we've had the great news that, made some progress by way of a potential new arena downtown, and we'll keep close eye on that, but that's not happening next year, that's for sure. So we're going to continue to innovate in the game experience, both inside the bowl, out in the plaza, the way we cover the team digitally. So we're looking at it as our a home for the foreseeable future. So you're going to see a lot of new elements and new experiences in the building there.
Well, Ross and I have already publicly stated that we'll help with the construction of the new arena if it helps speed things along.
Yep.
Perfect.
Although we do love the CTC, so we're not in a rush to get out of there. Looking at some of the promo schedules for this season, there's a lot of fun stuff. I see you got Sens Giving, Sparty's birthday, Oktoberfest, Country Night, Star Wars Night, Kids Takeover, Après Ski. So do you want to tell us a little bit about some of those promo nights?
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I share your sentiment towards the CTC. I just joined myself in December, and, you know, we certainly share the love of the building, and there's lots we can do in the building. We're going to continue to have those great experiences. But yeah, for promo nights, we really step back, and anyone who's attended a game has probably noticed that after the game, they'll get a post-game survey, and they have the opportunity to chime in what they'd like to see differently. We look at those after each and every game. And so we make adjustments through the year, but we also tally those results at the end of the year, and we couple that with a massive survey that goes out. So that in the off season lets us see what's working really well that we don't want to change and keep delivering. Those would, you know, you could think of those things like Star Wars nights, Sparty's birthdays. Those are what people love to see, and it's our job to make them bigger and better, but there's no adjustments there. But then there's also some things that they were okay. We either make improvements on them or we'll bring out something new, and that's kind of the process we'll go through each and every year. So, you know, as far as our classic ones, you mentioned it, we're having Sparty's birthday. We'll have our Star Wars night going on, our CSR initiatives like Hockey Fights Cancer, Bell Let's Talk night, our Indigenous night. All those are going to be continuing to go on, and we'll do them bigger and better. But some new elements that are fun, you know, you were mentioning before, some of those, you think of things like Sens Giving. So we have the luxury this year of having a Monday afternoon game on Thanksgiving, which is a great time to have it. So we know we'll have a lot of family out there, 1 p.m. start. So I actually have a mock-up for you guys here of our Sens Giving gravy boat that we'll be giving out to some fans coming in. So people will love that. And we'll have all sorts of activation, which is Thanksgiving themed. So we're looking forward to that. You had mentioned earlier Throwback Thursdays. So we have 6 separate Thursday nights. And so we're trying to find a way to bring those to life in a connected way. So each and every one of those nights is going to have a different music thematic. So the first one on Thursday, October 17th, we're going to have a 80s theme live band on the stage. We've got some throwback pricing in our concessions that people will enjoy, and we'll have some fun around those. And also for Throwback Thursday, you know, off the hopper here is we're going to introduce what we're calling a poster series. So each and every one of those Thursday night games, there was a Throwback Thursday game. We're having a local artist do up a poster series. The first one will have an art piece that she did up of Alfie. And over the year, people who are coming to each of those games will get that common look and feel of the artist's work. And at the end of the season, have a bit of collection there. So having some fun with that as well. And then obviously, you know, we'll get back in, like I said, Sparty's birthday follows that up on the 19th. We'll have a plaza activation. We're going to have a pillowcase giveaway for the kids coming in. So there's no shortage of new news and fun through the season. And we tried to, like I said, make sure we have the trusted and true ones, have some new ones, but also make sure there's a little bit in there for everyone. So that's the goal. And, you know, we keep testing and learning those all year.
Can I see that gravy boat again?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is all time. I love that. Looks like a personal size for me, the way I do it with my mashed potatoes. So that's going to be on the Monday against the LA Kings, right?
That is absolutely right. And anytime anyone wants to see more about these, if they just log on to ottawasenators.com, they can go into the promo page, and all of these items and information and ticket links to join us here in the CTC, all that's readily available. Yes, we're gonna have some fun with that one. So just to recap, we've got the gravy boat on Monday the 14th. We're going to have the first of our poster series with Alfie's piece on Thursday the 17th. And then on Saturday, October 19th with Sparty's birthday, we'll have the pillowcase giveaway. And the one I should also mention is on opening night. We introduced this last year, and it was to a really, really positive reaction. We've got a team calendar that we'll be distributing on that first home opener. And within that calendar, there's a whole slew of QR codes. So as people progress through the years, you go in, scan for when the days come up on the calendar for a chance to win a variety of prizes. So
Pillsy, I know you're a big advent calendar guy. That sounds almost similar.
Yeah, I like it. That's fun.
Yeah, that was the idea around. A nice chance to engage with fans throughout the season, pick up those calendars. So they're going to be available opening night, and then we're going to also have those available in our retail store throughout the year. But we tested it last year; it went really, really well. So we're going to expand those efforts this year.
That's awesome. Well, Jeff, we really appreciate all what you guys do. And I know you said in the summer you guys have your recaps of what happened last year, what you want to do next year. What are you banging the table for? What's your favorite initiative that you guys are going to be doing this season?
Well, we already had a couple of them. So you knew about the Gatineau event that we had a couple weekends ago. That was fantastic. We had upwards of 2,100 fans come join us.
Awesome.
That was a fantastic event. We had a red carpet arrival. The players were amazing as they're walking in, signing autographs. Had a great practice session, inter squad game, followed by another skating session. Had some kids out for a clinic afterwards. It was a fantastic day. So that's a new favorite of ours. Last weekend, I'm sure you guys saw, we had Fan Fest. So this is my first year with the Senators, but that was the most attended Fan Fest we've ever had. We had some really, really great activations going on. I'm sure you guys enjoyed those. We had everything from selfie stations to face painting to some interviews in the bowl with the players. Whole bunch of great activity going on. So really, really proud of the team that they put on such a great event. And like anything, we're going around taking notes. You'll see even bigger and better next year, but a great way to kick off the season with those two events in Gatineau and then here at CTC.
When you're testing for these promos and ideas, how does that go? How do you sort of float an idea, and does it go to like a board and you all decide, okay, this is a good idea, let's try this, or this might not work? I'm just curious how the testing and how what is actually going to be a promotion, how that all gets figured out.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brandon. I would say it's a combination of three things. Like I said, we'll do quant surveys, right, to get that massive kind of measurable thing of what people are liking, what people want to see. Then throughout the season, we'll have focus groups. We've got a council, so to speak, of current fans, season seat members, casual fans that we'll bring in, float different ideas to. And then quite frankly, you'll see me and my staff walking around at these events and having one-on-one conversations. And getting that kind of one-on-one feel. So that's our living, breathing kind of focus group. I come from a world of marketing beer and pain relievers. Oftentimes with those, you're doing your quant studies and you'll do your focus groups. But in sports entertainment, it's about getting out there and making those conversations and the connections with the folks who are attending those events. But that's the trifecta: quant, getting our focus groups, and then just getting out there and talking with people.
Oh, I love it, Jeff. And you actually led me to my next question. We like peeling the curtain back, right? Fans love the team. They love all the organization. And I think it's great to kind of learn more about the people who make the decisions that affect the day-to-day of the team. And looking at your resume, you mentioned the Johnson & Johnson was where you seem to really spend a lot of your time. And more recently, you're among the Oilers group and then worked a bit with FC Edmonton as well. What brought you to Ottawa? What was it about the opportunity that appealed to you?
Oh, I grew up in Northern Ontario, so I'm Elliott Lake born and raised. Craft Hockeyville was another great event we just went to, so that felt like a high school reunion more than a normal event, that's for sure. But no, being from Northern Ontario, then I spent a good part of my career at Johnson & Johnson and Molson in Toronto. I always wanted to get back to Ontario for the right opportunity. I always had my eye on the Senators, and as soon as Mr. Anlauer took ownership of the team with the ownership group, I made a few calls to some friends that I had with the Montreal Canadiens, and they told me to run towards a job just because they knew what he would want to do in the community here. And that's, when you're working for a sports franchise, yes, it's great to market a team, but the best part about it is you're contributing to the lifestyle and the cultural impact of a community. So when I saw what he wanted to do, what his vision was, I knew I really want to be a part of it. And I was lucky enough that an opportunity emerged. And trying to take those learnings. I've had market everything from Tylenol to Molson Canadian to the Oilers to FC Edmonton and out of here. So you try to take a little bit from every role you had to make the best contribution. And certainly God, I made the choice. It's been awesome so far.
Hope you're enjoying our chat with Jeff. We'll get right back to it. But first, Pilsy's got a word from one of our favorite sponsors.
Yes, today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time, the official ticketing app of the Locked On Podcast Network. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you're not wasting time searching through thousands of tickets. And if you want to see what your ticket will cost right from the hop, no surprise fees at checkout, toggle on the feature for all-in pricing. And they've got seat views. You can check out what your seat looks like before you buy. Lowest price guarantee, or else Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So when you're looking for a night out, sports, comedy, theater, and concerts, you gotta go to Game Time. If you don't have your tickets for the Sens home opener yet, what are you doing? Head to Game Time and get them now. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
All right, now here's more with Jeff Harrop. Are you able to address the rumors that Spartacat is been revamped? Because as a man with a little gray in my beard, we noticed at FanFest that Sparty, I don't know if he's just aging gracefully or what the deal is, but he looked like he had a little extra pep in his step.
Well, like anybody, Sparty's got to go see the beautician once in a while, so you're always going to want to change up your look a little bit. So, yeah, he's had some adjustments to him, and just like all of us, as we get a bit older, we gotta tweak ourselves a little bit. So, yeah, we'll have some fun with that.
Yeah, it looks like he hasn't been afraid of the sun this off season as well. Looks like he's been in the tanning bed too. No, that's awesome. I love that you guys are. It seems like it's a very collaborative effort, both in the group internally and also about getting the fans' input as well. What would you say the balance is? Because you can't let the inmates run the asylum, to lack of a better term, but you obviously want to take their feedback. What percent are you guys kind of filtering through all of what the fans' ideas are? Because we got some bad ideas on this show all the time. So I can imagine that if we're giving you 100 ideas, you're not going to take all 100. What's the vetting process like outside of just the data?
It's no different when you're marketing any other brand, right? You've got a huge hopper of ideas. Those ideas come from internal, they come from external, and you got to vet those. And like anything, it doesn't matter if it's the Ottawa Senators or Molson Canadian, there's a little bit of art and science when it comes to marketing. So you got to go a little bit on gut, a little bit on quant research, and make some calls. And then some things we'll lean in really hard and make big. Other things we might do small and see how it works. And if it works, then we'll make it big. But that's the fun about our job here is that, it's live entertainment. So that creates a bit of angst because when you're throwing things out there, it's live. But that's the fun part as well. And, the biggest thing you can do is not be afraid to make mistakes. I say to my team all the time, it's the worst thing you can do on any brand, especially in live entertainment, though, is the status quo. If you just keep doing the same things over and over again, the show is going to get a bit flat. The experience is going to be a bit flat. You got to constantly innovate. And that's what you're going to see from us. And that's not just in marketing. When you think about what Chris Phillips is doing over in the operations side, Brendan Duvall doing on the ticketing side, our foundation side, we're all the same mindset as listening to the fans as best we can. You can't do everything, to your point, Ross, but you got to be introducing and innovating and providing a better experience. This is like anything. It's all about a value proposition, right? You're providing the best possible experience you can for the dollars that we're receiving for that. So
I love it. No, that's great insight. Final question for me, Jeff. Really appreciate all this information. Hope we get to see you at home opener where it is just going to be the vibes are always immaculate, but then the fact, and I think I mentioned it, like they won right after COVID over the Leafs. Then they beat the wheels off of what ended up being a record-setting Boston Bruins team the next year, 7-5. And then last year, a Saturday matinee was unbelievable against the Philadelphia Flyers. So if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and having the Stanley Cup champs in town, that's great. But my final question for you is about Chris Phillips. We got the chance to speak with him on the show just a couple of weeks ago. Growing up in Ontario, I'm sure you knew Chris Phillips, the hockey player. What's Chris Phillips, the businessman, like that you get to collaborate with on certain things?
Oh, it's fantastic. You know, he brings a really unique lens. He's a very passionate guy about that fan experience, which is awesome. And he also sees it from the player side as well, right? So as much as, you know, we're bringing something to the table from marketing and sales, ticketing, et cetera, what we want to do for the fan experience, he looks at a lot from the player experience as well. And that makes a big difference. You know, when you've got the fans in the building and they're hyped up and passionate and having a great time because we've delivered a great experience, the players feel that. So A, he's just an awesome guy, but B, I've never had the chance to work with someone in operations before who's been on the player side. It's a really unique and awesome experience, and he's just a great guy to work with in general. I've got a young boy playing hockey myself, so the odd time I'll tap into him for some tips on what he should be looking to do as well. So that's a little bit of a side benefit, which he's always willing to share some advice there too. But no, it's we couldn't have a better executive team when you think about you know, what we're doing with Chris Phelps, again with Brendan, Marty over in partnerships, Jacqueline Foundation, Cyril and Aaron have been here for years. It's just a phenomenal group to work with. So we always say we're building something great here. We want to be best in class in what we do, and we're on a good trek to get there. So
Final question for me, not really a question, more of an offer. If you're looking for two new opinions and voices in a focus group, Ross and I have lots of bad ideas you guys can filter
Awful
through.
ideas.
Yeah.
Like I think the water should stay freezing cold in the bathrooms forever. I don't
Ross
like
loves the freezing cold water.
I actually love it. I
Wakes
yell
you up.
I go, feels like home. Like I just think you need those unique little gems in each rink. I'm sure people are slamming their steering wheels disagreeing with me, but I love it.
hey, well, we'll add you guys to the panel for sure. We're always looking for any idea out there, and I mean that seriously. So we'll definitely guys get looped in there, and yeah, I appreciate the time. You know, the great news is for us for home opener, we're 90 some odd % sold out, so we're almost ready to get the barn full. And then thanks for having me on to chat about these other nights between Sensgiving, the first Throwback Thursday, and Sparty's birthday. We really want to get sellouts and all of those. We had 19 sellouts this year. Or this past season, we want to get even more than that this year. So anything you guys are doing to help us get the word out. We've got a lot of activity going on, but with a lot of activity, we need a lot of communication. So we really appreciate you guys helping us spread the word on what we're trying to do here. So can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Jeff. And yeah, we got 2 busfuls coming from the Glebe Central Pub for the home opener. So
Awesome.
we're going to bring a bit of energy for that, and can't wait. And can't wait to see how all these events play out throughout the season. And maybe we'll have you on for some playoff promotions a little later on in the season. But Jeff, really appreciate your time, and we look forward to doing this again down the road.
Yeah, anytime you guys want to get on the horn to chat, I'm more than happy to do so. Don't wait for playoffs. Anytime you guys need me, I'll be there for you.
All right, Millsy, 1 stick taps to Jeff for joining us. How cool is that? He's from Elliott Lake, and it just so happens to be where the Senators just played on Sunday night.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was great to meet Jeff and hear about all the promotions that the Sens have. I'm fired. It's going to be a fun year to be at the CTC.
It certainly will. Now, before we get to our organizational value rankings, we do want to update everybody on just where Senators training camp is at, because yesterday afternoon, the Senators made a number of cuts, assigning certain players back to the Belleville Senators, who started their training camp, by the way, in the last 2 days. Levi Merilainen, Philip Roos, and Donovan Sabrango were all assigned to Belleville training camp, while Nikolai Kulemin was released from his professional tryout. I feel like we barely knew Nikolai Kulemin.
Kind of surprised Addison is still with us here. I'm not sure why he's kind of sticking around, especially if he's not going to get any game time. But the interesting one is Carter Yakemchuk still with the Ottawa Senators. Sens fans are loving that.
So right now, the Ottawa Senators have 16 forwards in camp, so they can cut 2, 3, or 4 and still be able to ice their opening night lineup. We'll discuss that later in the week as cuts continue, but we do have a pretty good idea that Tyler Kleven will make this team, as there are only 3 left shot defensemen remaining at training camp: Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot, and Tyler Kleven. Dustin Tokarski, I'm now of the mind that he needs a contract because Matt Sogard out for a week. Merilainen had a little injury issue. He would just be a good veteran. He had a 910 save percentage in the AHL last year. He's not the guy who I'd call up. I'd still want Sogard to get those games, but it doesn't hurt having a veteran around. So we'll see if Tokarski is able to get a contract with the Ottawa Senators. All right, now to our organizational value rankings. We are up to the top. Like, we're getting into some serious business now, Pilsy, where we're doing number 11 and number 10 today, and then we're in the top 10. So this is our young talent pool. It's just 2 players long, and coming in at number 11 is Ridly Greig. The progression on this kid has been exactly what you want from a late first rounder. Tears up junior the next year, does well in the World Juniors. Then he makes it impossible on the AHL team not to call him up, gets a little taste, doesn't do a whole lot, but then last year played almost an entire season, 72 games, missed a few with injury in NHL action.
Yeah, Ridly Greig is turning into a perfect third line player, in my opinion, especially when you consider the fact that he's able to play center or on the left wing. So a little bit of versatility is always good when you're kind of a middle 6 player. And last season, in 72 games with the Sens, 13 goals, 13 assists, good for 26 points. And Ross, a +10 for Ridly Greig, led the Ottawa Senators last season. Now, obviously, he's not in the mix offensively as much as some of the other top-end players, but for him to finish not only a plus, but a +10 was pretty impressive in my eyes.
Well, both of his wingers are gone, right? He was on that line with Vladimir Tarasenko and Mathieu Joseph, and they just were so steady through the first portion of the season. And now it's almost like, hey, you're probably going to play the wing, but the Sens often played him at center last year. And it just makes me feel like long-term, they want this guy to be in the middle of the ice. And I think as he gets stronger and better on faceoffs, it might be easier for him to be in the middle, but then it's also a numbers game. You've got Stützle, Norris, Pinto. And I know some people want Norris as a winger because of the injuries, but when Norris is at his best, he's playing in the middle of the ice. There's not much, I don't think, to argue.
Well, we haven't seen much of a sample size otherwise, so it'd be hard to argue the other way.
Exactly, and he's got the speed and all that. Anyways, I love Ridly Greig as a player, and the versatility is key, but what I want to see him this year is just add another element. Like, he was annoying last year to an extent, but I think now that he's, 185 pounds, this guy was probably 165 at his first camp. So for him to be able to back it up a little bit more, I think we could see a little even greasier. Not to mention, now he's got the rat master, Nick Cousins, along with David Perron, teaching them their tricks. I think that this is a guy who's scratching the surface in what he's going to become. And you can see that with his progression. I mean, we've been high on him for a couple of years now. After being drafted in the end of the first round in 2020, he was 27th on our organizational value rankings. He then moved up to 16, then 10, and now in back-to-back years, he's at number 11. What would you like to see from Ridly Greig this upcoming season?
I think a little bit more offense, 13 goals, 13 assists, nothing to shake your head about or be disappointed about, but I'd like to see those numbers creep up a little more, maybe past 15 goals and closer to 20 assists, so a little uptick. And Ross, it'll be interesting. You mentioned him getting greasier. Well, he's kind of got a target on his back now. If you're watching YouTube, the picture of him firing in a slapshot empty netter against the Toronto Maple Leafs, that raised a lot of eyebrows around the league, and I don't think he's kind of a undercover greasy player anymore. I think people are aware of him now, so that'll be interesting to see whether he leans into that more, or he was a little uncomfortable with all that attention when it happened, so maybe he leans out of that a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Can't wait to see the season Ridly Greig is going to have, though. He's just one of those exciting pieces that you can move around the puzzle, and it fits in so many different places. So he's going to be a utility player this season, I believe, for the Ottawa Senators, and I think him being at the net front on the second power play unit is going to create an opportunity. My goal for him, I was going to say guess, but it's more of a goal, is 20 goals, 20 assists. Let's get up to 40 points.
Sure.
Especially if he's getting time in the top 6. I think that that's a reasonable goal for Ridly Greig, who comes in at number 11 on our organizational value rankings. All right, number 10. And to be honest, we flipped these after training camp started because Carter Yakemchuk should not be any lower than this. And we honestly argued about putting him up a few spots, but we settled right at number 10 for the now 19-year-old, 6'3", 203-pound defenseman who was an offensive weapon last year in the WHL.
Yeah, I mean, 30 goals just in general is impressive, but 30 goals as a defenseman does not happen very often in juniors. So, and in 66 games, 71 points, so above a point per game pace. And then obviously the 30 goals jump out at you, but so do the 120 PIMs. And Ian Mendez, great writer for The Athletic, last year did an article covering all the different penalties that Carter Yakemchuk had, and not very many of them were like lazy stick infractions, like tripping, hooking, those kinds of penalties. It was more when things get out of hand. Carter Yakemchuk took care of business and had some high PIMS nights. So he's the kind of guy where he'll bring it offensively, but he backs it up physically too. And we've seen, or if you haven't, go check out his highlight reel from his time in Calgary in the WHL. This guy loves laying the body, and he can throw open ice hits with the best of them.
Well, him adding that element eventually will be great at the pro level, but right now he's just dipsy doodling. He's acting like,
Dangles.
oh, those junior moves won't work in the NHL. Well, ask Jake McCabe, Mitch Marner about how it looked the other night, because it certainly didn't look like it was any
Austin
different.
Matthews didn't even bother on that play.
No. Like,
he's gone.
Yakemchuk looked like he was playing the Swift Current Broncos on a Friday night at home.
Yeah.
Like, this was unbelievable for him to start his career. But then he looked like he was playing the game in a rocking chair in the second game he played, where he didn't have that highlight reel goal. Instead, he had 2 assists. Okay, so this is a guy who's finding his way onto the score sheet, and he's finding his way into the mix to earn a job here. Now, if you're listening to this right before the season, maybe it's already been decided. We're going to post this all in one long video on the Sunday. But if you're listening to it today, he's about to be on a pair with Jake Sanderson going up against the Montreal Canadiens. So it's clear the organization has taken notice. How couldn't you? That he's having one of the best camps versus expectations that we've had out of the 50 plus players that were invited to camp.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. Like, I think Carter Yakemchuk wasn't a pick that people were like down on or like really disappointed or anything, but I don't think he didn't get the same shine that the Prex, the Dickinsons,
both been sent down, by the way, already.
Williams, he didn't get that kind of shine, but so I think this is kind of his coming out party to some of the more casual Sens fans or fans that just don't follow the draft as closely. But this is why, like, what he's showing was the high end of potential that the Senators really banked on. And so far, so good.
So far, so great, man. Like, I'm so impressed every time I watch him about the poise. And that's what we're going to be looking for more and more, right? When you have a young defenseman, it's how much is the game going to overwhelm you? There's going to be certain times where he's up against elite competition, those types of things. And he just seems like that easygoing attitude. Remember, we met his grandpa at the draft, and same thing, like smile on his face, just very relaxed, very quiet, but you could tell there's a confidence about them too. So I love what we've seen from Carter Yakemchuk so far, and there's a reason why he's making his debut at number 10 on our organizational value rankings. All right, Pillsy, so top 10. I think everybody can figure out now who it's going to be, but I think the order is going to get a little contentious.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and we still have some contentious thoughts about the order as well.
Oh, yeah, and we'll get to that by the end of the week here on Locked On Senators. We appreciate everybody for making us a part of your daily routine, and a reminder that you can see our full organizational value rankings list on our Google Docs, which the link is in our description below. All right, Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me is no shoulder injuries for anyone in Ottawa tonight, and no knee injuries for anyone in Montreal. Let's have a nice clean game. Let's focus on that. We can save the animosity, Ross, for October 12th.
Yes, in La Belle Provence, in the Bell Center. Let us know if you're going to that game too. Would love to meet up with Sens fans before the game. I think the Peel Pub right around the corner feels like a good spot to set up a tent, a little Sens encampment before the game. Go have a few. Can't wait, man. This is going to be such an amazing trip back home. Our 4th home opener. They're 3-0. Let's go. All right. For today, we say goodbye. Thanks so much for watching, listening, engaging with the show. We have been seeing the 5-star reviews that have been coming in. Trucking Sens, I saw that, and a few others. Cannot thank you guys enough. Maybe sometime, like, I want to give people props for doing that, But at the same time, I don't want to make it sound so narcissistic and read nice reviews about ourselves. But just know that we do see it. Just write Zoob 5-star review. It does go a long way to helping the algorithm. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.